Deep state going bye-bye, bye-bye. New intel ops being purged as we speak. I told you Trump was going to clean house. Indeed, we saw that he fired about 100 NSC staffers right before Memorial Day. It was like Friday, late on Friday, and they said you get 30 minutes to clean out your desk. There's 100 of these people from the National Security Council. Well, this is accelerating now because it's not just the NSC. You've got, I believe this is this is one of the Foreign Affairs Journal writing on this, is the NSC dead? But you've also now got something called, I had never really heard of this, the CISA group, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. Well, the heads, 3 of the top 6 people in that division, they're saying bye-bye. They're leaving, they're winding down their positions this month. This is all courtesy of Donald Trump, who's trying to make some massive changes. So they had 6 people there. They're now down to 3. This comes on the heels of him getting rid of the head of the NSA. Remember that? And I suspect that a big part of the motivation here is you had too many people that were within the system that were sort of career government bureaucrats that were not in line with his thinking. The other reality of what's going on, and I'll just point out what CISA is. It's had a long time task of defending U.S. government systems, elections, and critical infrastructure from foreign hackers. It also has been a target of Trump, who went after Chris Krebs, remember, back in 2020 over the elections. So there's been some bad blood there, and I think fundamentally he just doesn't like these people, right? He does not like these people because he sees them at being at odds with him. The other thing I'll just tell you about him, and I know this from him, it's been my personal experience with him, he'll call you up and say like, he wants a perspective or intel on something, or maybe wants to talk to somebody. I remember once talking with him about something that was going on in Latin America. And he doesn't speak Spanish, and I do. And I was like, well, you're going to have to involve your team. Like, you're going to have to bring them in. He's like, I'm like, but you don't speak Spanish. So, But it struck me as sort of kind of cool and amazing that you have a president who wants a direct line of communication, right? Like, he wants to talk to all the people that are on the ground actually living, breathing a situation, as opposed to all the people within the NSA, within the cybersecurity team, within the State Department, and within the NSC. And so I think, bottom line, trusts his own instincts and the sort of word of what he's hearing. He wants to hear a lot of different opinions, by the way, don't get me wrong. Like, he's all about hearing many different sides, but he wants to make the decision himself. And so when NSC comes in and they've got the briefing, right, and they're like, here's the deal. Here's how you have to think about North Korea. Here's how you have to think about Russia. Here's how you have to think about China. Here's how you have to think about Venezuela. He's like, let me think about how I want to think about these places, okay? And then we'll talk. But instead, there's a deep state system within our government that has policies, right? And those policies stay, and they rarely shift. And he's coming in saying, no, I'm the CEO here. I want to make the decisions. I want to shift policies, and I'm going to do it. And so he has all these people and the system that's in the way. And you think about the system, James Comey, that not only was in the way, but then could do some serious damage to him. And I think he's like, I'm not taking it this time. I'm just not going to do it. So this is what's going down. There's a total purge of these deep state people. And it's happening at a good time because I think that a lot of things are shifting and changing. And I don't know that every president in the future is going to have, shall we say, Donald Trump's capabilities or instincts, et cetera. So there may be a point in time when you say, okay, we need more intelligence ops in the background because, the president's kind of just like a little puppet. I mean, it shouldn't be that way. But let's face it, what do you think Joe Biden was, right? And then you had Joe Biden's NSC team going on, bragging. Jake Sullivan so proud of the fact that they had cleaned up the Middle East. And then what happened days later? October 7th, sadly.
And what we said is we want to depressurize, de-escalate, and ultimately integrate the Middle East region. The war in Yemen is in its 19th month of truce. For now, the Iranian attacks against U.S. forces have stopped. Our presence in Iraq is stable. I emphasize for now because all of that can change. And the Middle East region is quieter today than it has been in 2 decades.
Oops. Tragically, we know what happened right after that. So, you can't be naive about these things. I don't think Donald Trump is naive. I think he's very much a realist. And he looks around at this team with all their research and all their briefings, and he's like, hang on. let me get to the bottom of this. And so consequently, yeah, you're seeing a lot of shift, a big shift that's going down as we speak, with all of these career bureaucrats kind of being told, see ya. And so they're upset about it. And the more this happens, the more upset they're going to be, right? I mean, that's just the reality of all that's happening. There's other things happening right now, too. I mean, you think about Susan Rice and her frustration for Trump not reading his briefings every single day. She said this. I'm trying to see if I can find you this, guys, because it was rather interesting to hear Susan Rice's big attack on the president. And I'm like, here's what you guys don't get. Here's what you don't get. People like the fact that he's not depending on deep state for all of his information and all his briefings. We'll find it later. But anyway, Susan Rice has come out and said that, oh, he shouldn't do that. He shouldn't do that. Well, guess what? He's going to do that. And given what we're learning about who has come into the country, including what just went down in Colorado, tragically, like we're learning there's a lot of people that are not necessarily on Team USA, okay, that are here and going to do us harm. And this is why you have people like Stephen Miller so furious that we need to get some of these individuals out. 3,000 a day the Trump administration is shooting for right now, with that number expected to grow and to grow.